Hi everyone, Bernard here with the latest Citizen vlog. Today it's moments in time. So we're going to look back at a certain date in itself and a game not particularly exciting or, in the history of Manchester City. The game won't be remembered for anything. It's other things. Obviously the clues are in the pictures as you look around. But yeah, today's moments in time. I'm going to look back at the 5th of October. But back in 1968, Everton versus Manchester City, Goodison Park. Please, if you're new to the Citizen channels, please push that subscribe button. Push the bell notification so you know these little vlogs are coming out of City Past and City Present. Say this is a City Past one today. Yeah, well look, so it's a moments in time. 5th of October 1968. I wasn't there. I was going to Main Road games. I was a bit too young for me. My dad didn't take me to any away games. He died when I was only 10 or 11 years old, so I sort of visited my first away grounds with friends, obviously on my own. My father never took me to an away game, even Old Trafford. Obviously, I was only 9 or 10 when he sadly passed away. But yeah, so I was supporting City on the 5th of October. I was going to Main Road on a regular basis. But this was interesting. I would have missed this first because obviously it was away at Goodison Park. But it is quite iconic on the in City's history going forward. I mean, it's not, as I said, it's not going to go down as City's greatest football match. It was a 2-0 defeat for City, who were then the reigning champions, of course, who'd won the First Division title the season before. In front of a packed Goodison Park, over 55,000 fans there on the night. But the City fans who made the trip to Goodison that night witnessed, yes, the new red and black strip for the first time. But obviously the defeat on that night, we lost 2-0 to Everton, and not the greatest game. I mean, the omens didn't seem that great, did they? City fans, as we do, I mean, we do now, and I'll show an example of that. I'll tell you an example of that in a minute, even myself. City fans had bolts at the red being any part of City's kit for obvious reasons. But if you look back in City's history, if you look back to the days of St Mark's, etc., we'd actually played in Scarlet, and even the cup finals in the sort of mid 20th century, even the cup finals, we actually wore Scarlet in a cup final. So you'd actually turned out in Scarlet, but it was called Scarlet, not red, so perhaps we got away with it because of that. But many City fans had travelled down to Wembley even wearing scarlet and white football scarves and rosettes and hats, etc. Yeah, and I echo this dislike for red, obviously, because I remember as late as the late 80s, I arrived home in a new company car, a red Nissan, no trim, just red, a little bit of black trim, I think there was somewhere. So a red Nissan car, a company car. My lad was only 4 or 5 at the time, and he did question me about the colour. He said, "Dad, that's United's colours." And in my defence, I cited that, of course, City wear red. Obviously, we wear red and black, but City do wear red. But it was all right, and obviously I got away with it. I think the lad accepted that. But this sort of highlights, doesn't it, a normal City fans' not hatred, but dislike of the red connection. And even clothing wise, I've wore this obviously many times, but I would never wear a red shirt or anything with a red dominance to it in clothing at all. And even socks, I've got the odd pair of Christmas socks with obviously a bit of red on them, with being Christmas, but green as well. So yeah, well, there you go. Anyway, back to the story. That's just as sad, isn't it? I mean, some women are watching this now saying how pathetic, but hey, us guys are like this, aren't they? Let me know in the comments if you're the same. Anyway, back to the story. Yeah, Malcolm Allison, there he was a coach, wasn't he? 90s there. He's on the end of the team picture there. Was a coach in 68. Obviously, John Mercer was a manager. Malcolm Allison was his hopper, wasn't he? The coach in 68, and he was the instigator of this controversial strip at the time, as I said, which bemused City fans and didn't go down too well. And he thought the kit would give City an edge psychologically. And it was basing this on the success of AC Milan, the Italian team, who'd actually wore similar, bit of thinner stripe. If you can look at the image of AC Milan, certainly thinner stripes, but obviously the base is a red and black stripe. and they'd won the Serie A title and the European Cup Winners' Cup in 1967-68. They would also go on to win when we first sported this kit, they'd also go on to win the European Cup, and obviously now the Champions League, the European Cup in the 68-69 season, which is the first season City wore this kit. Interesting enough, I did read articles perhaps in the 80s and 90s, and psychologists would say that the dominance of teams like Liverpool and United and Arsenal was there because there was something in the red strip. There's something psychologically in a red strip. So that was what they were coming up with. I mean, they totally ignored the mixed bag of club colours that had won titles, etc. prior to the 70s, 80s, 90s, for instance. I mean, obviously there was a mishmash of teams, different colours. You know, you're thinking back to the great Huddersfield Town team, which obviously wore blue and white stripes, didn't they, of an ilk. They certainly do now. I'm sure they wouldn't have wore red back in the 1930s when they won 3 league titles on the trot. So there you go. Obviously, they sort of ignored that. They said psychologically red did it, but you know, to further disprove that, I mean, we've had now the likes of Chelsea and City, of course, and of course you've even got Blackburn and Leicester City chiming in, obviously with a different shades of blue in latter times. So that psychology thing perhaps doesn't hold too much water, but perhaps it changes over time. But yes, it did appear as though Mr. Allison had sort of latched onto something in those times, for City anyway. Despite that inauspicious start at Goodison Park on October 1968, it would get far better, obviously, over the next couple of seasons, wouldn't it? Although we tamely gave up our 68-69 title, our 67-68 title in 68-69, the City fans' dislike for the red and black striped effort began to wane. First of all, we had a semi-final date with Everton, but at Villa Park, where we wore the red and black stripes again. In this semi-final, we actually won it. So City fans were beginning to warm a little bit for it. And then obviously in the final, obviously we played Leicester, and again, it wasn't always the case. Sometimes both teams changed, but in this case, Leicester wore their normal royal blue or dark blue, and City changed, but we were quite happy to change after that semi-final into the very famous red and black stripes, obviously. So certainly with that win in the final, all City fans' doubts were banished, and sales of the black and red scarves and replica kits soared. Even for yours truly, but you can have a look at that after. Things were going to get better the season after, weren't they? I mean, 69-70 season, not only we did a League Cup and Cup Winners' Cup double, and on both occasions in the final we wore the very famous red and black stripes, the night in Vienna and the night at Wembley against West Bromwich Albion. And this was despite a bit of a setback with the red and black stripes, because we'd actually lost to Schalke in the semi-final of the Cup Winners' Cup that season, 1-0 away, wearing the red and black. So you know, that was put a bit of a dampener on it, but you know, not to lose heart. As I said, we wore it again in the final. The fact that City only probably have 2 kits to choose from probably helped. I mean, they didn't just produce a kit just for the sake of it, perhaps. But yeah, so obviously we lost to Schalke 1-0, but of course in the return leg at Main Road, the semi-final, we beat them 5-1, so 5-2 on aggregate. So yeah, we did wear it again in Vienna on a soaking wet night in Vienna, and it worked again. So there you go. Perhaps that tiny setback to the psychologist with the defeat in Schalke didn't really mean that much, but perhaps that defeat was beginning to put a blot on the kit, and the following season, 70-71, again we got to the Cup Winners' Cup semi-final. Again we wore the famous red and black stripes at Stamford Bridge in the second leg of the Cup Winners' Cup. Unfortunately, a bit of leg. We were already a goal down from the Main Road game. Unfortunately, we lost again 1-0, so we did go out of the Cup Winners' Cup. And again, the red and black kit hadn't quite worked, had it? Nothing to do with the fact we had a lot of injuries at that time. Obviously, the red and black hadn't quite worked. So perhaps the kit had lost its allure, and to add to that, the demise of Alisson soon after, obviously the kit was put on a back boiler for them. But obviously, it was never going to be forgotten, was it? I mean, it never has been forgotten. Semi-finals and finals came and went in the League Cup, certainly during the 70s. Just when we needed it most, perhaps, as underdogs in the 1981 FA Cup final. Yeah, what happened in the semi-final? We used it. We used it against Ipswich Town, who were the strong favourites to win that game, and out came the red and black top again at Villa Park. Again, another lucky ground for that red and black, seemingly. And of course, this new version worked its old magic once again, and we managed to beat Ipswich. Shame, perhaps we couldn't have worn it at the final. Who knows what would have happened in the first game? Certainly, if Tommy Hutchinson had worn this red and black stripe, maybe psychologically would have decided to stand his ground in that wall and not move. But there you go. That never happened, did it? But who knows? Yeah, it was tried again soon after. Remember it in 1986. It wasn't the greatest of finals, was it? But I think we'd travelled to Old Trafford the day before. In 1986, we reached the final of the full Members' Cup, obviously against Chelsea at Wembley. The day before, we'd played United. So perhaps a sky blue kit. As I said, we didn't have a plethora of kits in those days. It had to be washed and laundered and put back out again. So perhaps the sky blue kit was still in the wash at home. So we wore the latest version of the red and black top for the final. And well, no, it didn't work its wonders again, did it? It didn't work. Almost, but not quite. It didn't quite pull it off in the old red and black strip. So again, perhaps put it on the back burner for a little while. Of course, we've seen more evolved red and black kits over time, including variations and another popular kit with the red and black diagonal, of course, and that also came a red and navy blue diagonal at times as well. And the red and black and the red and blue ones are another of my favourite kits. All variants were usually quite popular with the fans. They were a popular kit, although obviously not in latter times with a trophy winning influence, but that's perhaps more due, as I said before, to the quality of the team or a team playing with lots of injuries, etc., rather than the kit itself, as psychologists would have you believe. Although it saw some great victories, it never got the chance to be worn at semi-finals and finals again, did it? I mean, even the team of the 10s, even the 2010s, when we started winning things again, it made its appearance, but obviously finals and semi-finals, it was sort of not around, was it? And of course, one of the greatest red and black connections we can talk about was the away game versus Fulham, again insignificant in its meaning, in end of March 2019. Not the shirts as such, but obviously in remembrance of the wonderful club servant Bernard Halford, who had sadly passed away just days before. There's the famous image, of course, in with the FA Cup and that famous red and black scarf. So Fulham had allowed the City fans to send 1,400 scarves down to Craven Cottage, where they were kindly put on the seats, and those fans who were lucky enough, sadly I wasn't one, to be there received a wonderful piece of memorabilia, obviously, at Craven Cottage that day, and some great images came out of that day. Pep also went out of his way to wear his own red and black scarf on a number of occasions, and of course, sales, as he always did, of the scarves and any red and black kit received an obvious boost from this as well, and it proved just as popular as it had done almost 50 years ago when we first wore it, and even to the extent of prior to the Watford FA Cup final in the last season, not the season just gone, the season before, obviously, as I'm recording this, we sported a snazzy looking variation complete with the Manchester coat of arms in tribute to that first red and black winning FA Cup team back in 1969, and perhaps in small tribute as well, of course, to Bernard Halford as well. So the guys come out in that training top. Perhaps Puma have got an idea for one in the near future, not this season, obviously, as I'm recording this, the 2020-21 season. We've got other variations from Puma of Manchester history, etc., but no doubt Puma will come along with a little version of their own as well. So there we have it. Malcolm Allison, we've got him to thank for this wonderful, iconic red and black kit. My very own first replica kit was, of course, the sky blue. Some images up there for you to look at. But, of course, my second one was, of course, the red and black stripes, even though I was a big fan of maroon. I mean, we'll perhaps talk about maroon another day, but I always like the maroon kits as well. But yeah, I mean, my second favourite, my second replica shirt was, of course, the red and black stripes. With the socks and the shorts, I wouldn't buy those now. I'm not, I wouldn't do that. But yeah, red and black, it's got some fantastic memories for me personally as well. I'm sure it's got memories for many of you. I mean, let's face it, the kit's been presented and received the trophies from real royalty, hasn't it? And it's also been worn by a couple of kings in the past, which we can remember. Did it have any special psychological powers? Possibly not, but perhaps it gave great football teams that edge over their opponents at a precise moment in time. Who knows? All I know is that behind the sky blue, it is mine and many other City fans' favourite kit. No matter how good or not so good our football team is that wears it, it's still up there and still close to our hearts. So despite its connections to the dark side, red has been an important colour for City. Forgive me, my latest car, again getting back to the cars, is white with a red and black trim on my partner's choice, but I have a shirt on sport in the same colour, so it's perhaps okay, isn't it? I rest my case on that. But thanks Malcolm Allison, thanks AC Milan, and thanks to that lacklustre, unimpressive defeat at the rate of the current reigning champions City on the 5th of October 1968 at a cold, damp Goodison Park. Perhaps other people would have dropped the kit, but no, not Malcolm. He was determined. So that was the 5th of October 1968, Goodison Park, Everton versus Manchester City. A Manchester City moments in time. Thanks for joining me anyway for this. Please let me know in the comments if you enjoyed that. Please check all my links as well, and if you're into movies, please check my little movie review vlogs and TV drama review vlogs, etc. And if you can spare a moment to look at moviegamenostalgia.com, my little day job and website, that's for old rare DVDs, movie posters from the 90s and 2000s and board games, that would be absolutely fantastic. So hopefully you will join me again very, very soon for another Citizen, past or present. Whatever you want to do the rest of the day, have a great one. Look after yourselves, look after your friends, look after your families, and more importantly, let's all look after each other. And hopefully I'll see you all again soon. Please stay safe, Blues. Bye-bye.